Hi, I'm Andrea. Thank you so much for joining me for this 30-minute yoga practice. I'm standing on a yoga mat. I'm also standing on my rug. If you don't happen to have a yoga mat, just use the rug or maybe a carpeted place in your house, and that will be perfect. I have 2 yoga blocks. A great substitute would be 2 thick books. And I've got a folded blanket, a folded beach towel, a thick bath towel, the throw blanket from your couch. All of those will work just fine. We will start actually kneeling today. So to begin, let's start seated on our heels. If that's uncomfortable, which it can be for many of us, you could sit on one of your books or blocks or on both of them, but we'll pause for a moment to stop so that we can start. Your palms can go up or down. You might even close your eyes. Let's turn the arrows of attention inward and focus on our breath. When you inhale, really feel your inhale. When you exhale, really experience your exhale. Energetically, they say different things. Your inhales make you feel tall, buoyant, and your exhales can help you to feel grounded. They feed the relaxation side of our nervous system. If you're able to breathe in and out through your nose, that's ideal. However, breathe any way that you can. All I want is for you to fully experience inhales and exhales. 3 silent moments here. We will come kneeling now and move your props if you're sitting on your blocks. You'll kneel on your right leg. I'm going to scoot things out of the way and actually come off my mat, and you can come off your mat here too. Left leg extends out to the side. Toes face forward. You could curl your right toes under, and you might use your folded blanket underneath your right knee if needed. Take your arms out to the side wide, thumbs to the sky. Now, instead of a bend, a side bend, I want us to think of a little bit of a hinge at our hip. And we're not going to take ourselves very far down our left leg, but there's a little karate chop hinge, and you can take your left hand on that leg. But remember, we're looking to lift up and out, so not crumble. It's not a Bowie sort of a feel. It's a feeling of up and hinged. It's called gate pose. 2 moments. Now we come back to center, thumbs to the sky, V. Bend your left knee. Put your left knee, on the ground, and then gate pose to the second side. So right leg steps out, right toes are facing forward. We oomph a little bit up. So remember the energetic components of your breath. And then we will just take ourselves hinging at our hip a little bit over to the side. Now, if this is bothering your knee, you can always angle those toes out a little bit too. And then right hand can come down your leg, but we're light as a feather and we're super not Bowie. We want to think of like a little bit of a hinge, a little bit of a length. So we're not going very far in our gait. Then we come back to center and we'll bend that right knee. And I'm going to keep facing you this way so it's easiest to follow me, which means I'm going to once again come off my mat. You can situate yourself any way that you'd like to. But what I want us to do is come to all fours. And from all fours, we construct a modified side plank. So right hand, right knee, left foot, almost like that Parigasana in its way, right? Or that gate pose. And then take your left hand onto your left hip, and then left arm up to the sky. Some of us will have our folded blanket underneath our right knee. Many of us are going to curl our right toes under, and then feeling our right hip hug underneath us and feeling that we're pushing the ground away with our right hand, float your left leg up or not. You can keep your left foot flat on the ground. Let's play around with some silly goose balance for a few moments. We'll put our left foot on the ground, left hand on the ground. There we are on all fours again. I'll spin around so I don't turn my back to you. From all fours to construct our second side, left hand, left knee, right foot, and then right hand on our hip. And you can feel that your left hip has to hook underneath you, hug underneath you for the balance. Right arm can free up to the sky. Maybe right leg lifts and we float. And if that's just not working for you, put that right foot back down on your mat. We've got 2 moments together here. Really push the ground away. Keep breathing. Then right foot down, right hand down, right knee down. And here we are on our hands and knees. From hands and knees, we will take a down dog. But I want you to feel like there's a hook in your tailbone taking you there, and you push the ground away. So toes curl under, hips up and back. We're in our down dog. Then shift into a plank with your shoulders over your wrists, and then let the tailbone hook take you back to down dog. I like a pretty big bend in my knees as I take a down dog, and I might even step pretty wide for this first one. Let's go back and forth, shoulders over wrists, and then hook in your tailbone takes you to down dog. Shoulders over wrists as we come to our plank. Hook in our tailbone takes us to down dog. One more time, shoulders over wrists in our plank, but this time knees down on your mat. So you may want to step them or shimmy them in to be hip distance. We're not collapsed in our shoulders. We want to feel our belly lift. Shift a little bit forward. Try to be in one piece to come all the way down onto your belly. And once you're on your belly, forearms parallel to the long edges of your mat, uncurl your toes. Let's take our time with this a little bit. Traction your elbows towards you. Draw your chest through the gateway of your arms. Notice if you're trying to do most of it with your chin, and instead let your chin just stay parallel to the ground. Press into the tops of your feet so that your kneecaps feel like they're lifting off the ground and your legs feel like they are active. Now lower down. Think about that shape. Take your hands right next to your ribs. You're not winging your elbows out to the side, you're letting them draw towards you. And we'll use the same recipe that we did with Sphinx here in a cobra pose. You have this option when we start to do sun salutations. So draw your chest through the gateway of your arms. Remember not to throw our chin forward so much as really try to bring this into the shoulder blade area of our spine. Press into the tops of your feet so your legs feel activated. Then lower down, curl your toes under. In one piece, push into your hands, come through all fours. That will also feel like a pretty nice counter pose to a long time in some back extension. And then let your tailbone lift you up and back into down dog. From down dog, walk your feet forward to your hands and let your feet be parallel and hip distance. Take your hands to your ankles, shins, or thighs. Inhale, uplift your heart. Exhale, slide your hands down. We fold forward, but it's a hip hinge, so it's not rounded, kind of like our gate pose conversation. Then inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, V. We stand in our mountain, palms face out. So mountain pose is our foundational pose. It's even one that we do in real life. Let's feel as we turn our palms out that we're standing tall, and energetically, inhales grow us tall. Exhales help us feel grounded into the earth. Sun salutation A. Inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, V shape. Exhale, hinge at your hips and hands to your thighs, or your shins, or your ankles. Slide your hands up. Inhale, lift your heart. Bend your knees deeply enough that your hands can get flat on your mat. And from here, step it to down dog. There's a hook in our tailbone. We're pushing the ground away with our hands. Shift into plank, shoulders over wrists. Bring your knees to your mat. Oomph into your arms. Keep your belly nice and firm all the way down onto our bellies. And then uncurl your toes. Either sphinx with your forearms down or hands next to your ribs, and we come into cobra. Lower down. Curl your toes under. Belly firm as we come through all fours. And then let your hips lift you up and back. Push the ground away for down dog. We walk forward, feet to our hands. Feet are hip distance. Slide your hands up. Lift your heart. Inhale. Fold back in. Slide your hands down. Exhale. Inhale, rise, reach. Thumbs to the sky. V-shape. Then stand and pause. In your mountain. We'll flow that a couple more times. Inhale. V-shape. Exhale, hinge at your hips, hands to thighs, shins or ankles. Slide your hands up, inhale, lift your heart, bend your knees, palms flat, step to down dog. From down dog, shoulders over wrists in our plank, knees down, belly firm, all the way to your belly. Uncurl your toes for sphinx or cobra pose. Lower down, curl your toes under, come through all fours. And then let your tailbone lift you up and back, down dog. Walk your feet to your hands, all the way forward to your hands and hip distance. Inhale, lift your heart, hands to shins, thighs. Exhale, hinge at your hips and fold in. Inhale, rise, reach, thumbs to the sky, a V, and then we'll pause, palms face out. One more sun salutation, A. Inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, V. Exhale, hinge at your hips and hands to your thighs or your shins or your ankles. Slide your hands up, inhale, lift your heart, bend your knees deeply, palms flat, down dog. Shift it to plank, shoulders over wrists. Let your knees come down, lower slowly to your belly. Uncurl your toes, make it a cobra pose. And then lower down, curl your toes under, come through all fours. And then let it be a down dog. Lift your hips up and back, push oomph into arms. Walk your feet forward to your hands. Once you land, hands to ankles, shins or thighs as we inhale and lift our heart. And then exhale, fold back in. Rise, reach, thumbs to the sky, V-shape. We stand and pause, palms face out. You can always use the arm of your sofa or even maybe a wall somewhere for what we're going to do next. With our feet hip distance, standing with our feet hip distance, take your hands onto your hips. That might be hands onto your hips with your left hand on the wall or the arm of your sofa. And stand on your left leg, taking your right leg out in front of you. Turn your right leg out like we're dancing a jig, and then turn your right toes to the sky. Let's do that 2 more times. You can feel it happening in your hip. Right leg turns out, and then right toes to the sky. 1 more time, right leg turns out, and we create a kickstand, or we put our right foot onto our right shin. Remember, you can use something for balance. You might even put your right foot into your left inner thigh. Tree pose. Hug that left hip in so it doesn't look like we're hanging out. That won't give us much balance, as you can see from my bobbles. And then begin to grow your branches, so thumbs to the sky, V shape, and maybe it's just half of a V with your left hand using something for some balance. Let's pause in our tree pose. 3 moments together here. Then hands on our hips. Turn your right leg forward, step down, feet hip distance. We're in our mountain. We're establishing our groundedness, and we're feeling the crown of our head grow tall. Hands on your hips. Stand now on your right leg. Adjust maybe right hand onto your prop or the arm of your chair, maybe sofa, or anything that works. And then standing on our right leg, left leg out in front of us. We will, from the hip joint, turn that out like dancing a jig, and then turn our toes to the sky. Let's do that 2 more times. Left leg turns out, and then left leg to the sky. Left leg turns out. This time, as it stays turned out, either a kickstand or our left foot on that right shin, or our left foot in the inseam of our right leg, and we grow our branches. Thumbs to the sky, outer, right hip hugging in. We try to find some balance. We might use our right hand on something to help. 3 moments. Hands on your hips, turn your left leg forward, step down, feet are hip distance. We will now step wide, and this is important, props. Situating our 2 tall blocks or your books, let them be off the long edge, which will become the back long edge of your mat. And when we step wide facing the opposite long edge, arms out to the side, thumbs to the sky. If you land your ankles underneath your wrists, that will give us the beginnings of how we'd like to align this. Like we just did dancing our jig, turn your right leg out so that your right foot is facing that short edge of your mat. Cheat your back heel, your left heel at 45 degrees. Now when we did our bridge pose, I said we're not doing a Bowie shape, we're doing a hip hinge. And it was harder actually to get the range of motion there that we will get here, but it's a great way to introduce not being willowy and reaching way out with our right hand as we hinge at our right hip. Find your block, place your block on the outside of your right foot, and if you're not using a block and you opt to use your thigh, I just want to make sure that you don't push too hard into that hand. So you want to push your thigh against your hand. I like props a little bit better than using your thigh. That's just me. Left arm up to the sky, thumb to the sky. Let's refine what's happening in our shoulders. Spin your inner upper arms away from each other, so not towards each other where it collapses into your shoulders into ears. We rotate those out, and now we have all this spaciousness. We have the same action happening in our right hip that we did in our tree pose and in our little jig that took us there. A couple of moments like this. You have the option to stay right where we are, or take your left hand onto your hip and imagine that this little triangle floats only onto your right leg. Move your block about a foot out in front of your right pinky toe. Lift your left leg. This looks an awful lot like that side plank that we did on our knee, on our shin, wouldn't you say? You can keep your left hand where it is or take your left arm up to the sky. Let's move carefully. Those of us who are just on our right leg will step back into the triangle pose, so move your block with you. We'll meet up with our friends who stayed in the triangle pose the whole time. I want us to be cautious as we come out of this. So look down and put a little bend in your right knee. Take your left hand on your hip, move your block off the side of your mat, come upright and turn all of your toes to face the long edge of your mat. Get situated. Turn your left leg out so your left foot is facing that short edge of your mat. Cheat your right heel at a 45-degree angle. Arms out to the side, thumbs to the sky. Remember, not a side bend. So we want to get that hinge in our hip happening right away. Reach way out with your left arm. Find your block on your left hand, under your left hand on the outside of your left foot. Our right heel, back heel is at a 45-degree angle. Right arm to the sky, thumb to the sky. And then remember, we're not crumbled shoulders into ears. We want to rotate inner upper arms away from each other. Create some space. And then we pause. A few more moments together here. option to stay put. Right here is great. Right hand on your hip if you want to balance this triangle on just one leg. You'll look down, move your block about a foot out in front of your left pinky toe. It starts to look a little bit like a side plank variation that we did together. You could take your right arm up to the sky here if you want to. And we look down, gracefully as possible. Step back to our friends who are in triangle. Meet them in triangle. And then we want to be careful about our exit. So a bend in our left knee, move your block off the side, come upright, turn all toes to face the long edge of your mat, get situated, then heel toe. We make our way to hip distance apart, and we need to move our props one more time. So take your 2 blocks. When we're facing this short edge of our mat, let them be off the 2 long edges of your mat. We'll stand in our mountain pose. Inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, V. Exhale, hinge at your hips, hands to your thighs or shins or ankles. Slide your hands up, inhale, lift your heart, bend your knees, palms flat. Step back to your down dog. Once you're in down dog, lift your right leg back behind you, step that right foot forward. It might take helping it along. And then come up into either a crescent pose, which would mean that your back knee is off your mat, or you can always do this with your left knee down. Maybe that wants to have padding, like your folded blanket or towel. Hands in a prayer. Hook left elbow outside of right thigh. Remember, that can be with your knee up or down. Pause. 3 moments. Now we will unwind our hands to our 2 blocks, and if your back knee is on your mat, take it off your mat. Let's straighten our front leg, turn our left foot, back foot flat. Walk your right foot a little bit to the right, so heel toe, and then imagine that both of your hip bones have flashlights on them and that they want to face this short front edge of your mat. Let's keep our spine long and our left hand on our block. That can be on the inside of that right foot and anywhere that makes sense. And then twist open, right thumb to the sky, and pause here. It's tempting to swing our butt way out to the right. A little of that is fine, but we're kind of thinking, hey, can I convince you to move back towards the back edge of my mat a little bit? Unwind, bend your front knee, spin on your back toes. Move both blocks out of the way and step into down dog. Hi, Tippy. From down dog, oh, good job. You're doing exactly what I'm doing. You can stay there or come to plank. Bring your knees on your mat. Lower all the way onto your belly. Thanks, Tip. Come into a cobra. Tippy's doing all the vinyasas that we are right now. Curl your toes under. Hi, bub. Come through all 4s and into down dog. Lift your left leg. Remember, that might need a little help as you step it through. We either come into a crescent pose with our back knee off our mat, or we bring our back knee onto our mat, hands in a prayer, right elbow hooks outside of our left thigh here. 2 moments just like this. Then we unwind. If our knee is on the ground, we'll take our knee off the ground. Straighten your front leg, turn your right foot flat, heel toe that left foot to the left. Nice long spine, and we find a twist. So right hand on our block, left arm spins open to the sky. Just a couple more moments here. Then we unwind, spin on our back toes as we bend our front knee, scoot our 2 blocks off to the side, and bring ourselves to down dog. From down dog, knees onto our mat, and we come seated with our legs out in front of us. Probably a great idea to have our blocks nearby. as we come into basically our standing tree pose, but seated. So right foot into left inner thigh, right? Like a seated tree pose. And then two options. One is that you can take your two blocks, frame that left leg, and let that walk you into a nice long spine. If this is bothersome to your knee, you could use one of your blocks underneath your right thigh or your folded blanket or towel rolled up there. And then I'm going to step out of your way and give you some silence in which to stretch. A few moments here. Bring yourself upright. Help this along. So take your right hand outside your right thigh, point that knee to the sky, extend your right leg out in front of you, bend your left knee, put that foot into the inseam of your right leg, wherever it will go. Blocks can be helpful here, maybe one underneath here or your folded blanket. We'll turn our left ribs a little bit towards that right leg, fold out, find the sweet spot, and stretch. Again, I'll be silent for a full minute. Bring ourselves upright, help it along. So left knee to the sky, both legs out in front of us. If you'd like, lie down and do your Shavasana final meditation. Maybe today you take a seated cross-legged meditation. So both options are great, totally up to you. A seated meditation, a lying down Shavasana final meditation, but it is our rest and digest. 2 full minutes of silence here. You're welcome to stay in your seated meditation or your lying down final Shavasana meditation as long as you'd like. If you're lying down and you feel ready to come up, move slowly. Draw your knees into your chest and roll to one side. Bring yourself up to join us in a seat that's comfortable for you. Let's pause for a moment of gratitude. I'm Andrea. Thank you so much for practicing with me. I look forward to us doing it again.